Okay, so this director Michael Vaughn made this interesting for me. I mean, he changed the genre of Kingsman in the third installment. Imagine the first two were action spy comedies. They probably weren't that funny, so they actually decided to change it to actually just an action comedy. If you also look at the trailer, there is no trace of anything being funny, right? Michael Vaughn is not really a serious director. He's just one of those people that you can forget about very quickly. The movies he's done before are The Kingsman, obviously 1 and 2, which is the Secret Service, which is the first installment where they actually went through the recruitment of one of the top cast members and put them in the Secret Service, etc. The second one was The Kingsman, the Golden Circle, where the whole world was held hostage by Poppy Adams. The current one, which is The Kingsman, coming out next year in 2020, is about a gang of former world tyrants and bad guys who come together and try to do something to the world. So The Kingsman is basically not a very serious action movie type of thing. It's full of far-flung plots like you will see in this one. The most probably serious movie or biggest movie that Michael Vaughn did was X-Men First Class, even though if you look at it from an X-Men point of view, that's not a really big movie. So this will basically give you an idea of the fact that this is just one of those movies like that cousin of yours that visits that you don't really like, that you talk to over the sound of the show that you actually really like. You don't really pay attention to them. This is The Kingsman. I'm not saying that it's totally off and bad, but it's not really that serious as people would like to put it. So yeah, this movie probably won't score very much, maybe a 7.1, 7.2 on IMDb ratings. I mean, if you look at the plot, how do former tyrants and criminal masterminds come together and cooperate? I mean, it's against the nature of these guys. It's like trying to put cats and dogs together and have them actually conquer the landlord or the owner of the house. That's not gonna happen. I know a lot of people will probably think of Animal Farm and how those piggies like Napoleon came through and did their thing, but this is nothing like that. You're not going to find tyrants working together. So already the plot just sets the movie in the wrong direction, and it will be responsible for an average rating or so. I like to look at fake scenes. It looks like this movie might have a few in them. First of all, at the start of the trailer, you see that helmet with the skull. If you see where it was actually poised, that's actually not realistic. Maybe they had some glue stuck on it, I don't know. Then you also look where Shola Jimon Honsu, one of my favorite actors, is doing the whole action thing. He runs up the side of that sort of like hill or mountain in the quarry and jumps into that rope. The first question that I'm going to ask you, what I want you to let me know in the comments below, is what was that boulder tied up to? It was like a boulder on a string. Didn't actually really make sense. So expect a lot of exaggeration and fake scenes that might have you going yeah, they had me cringing as well. Okay, so a lot of these scenes sort of like come across as pretty dumb, purely executed, and it looks like this is a theme in the movie. Like on the trailer, you see when those guys are lined up with the helmets and the masks, acting like they're about to ambush something, only to find out that they're creeping on guys who are actually in front of them. I mean, who does that? It's like a kid trying to scare an adult. And if you look at the weapons that they had, one had a hammer, one had a pick, one had that sort of like bat with spikes. The other dude was wearing gas masks. I mean, what happens to the other guys without gas masks when the guy with the gas mask actually does his thing? I mean, do they hold their breath? One of the statements actually said on the trailer was that this is not a war for heroes for real. It's not a war for heroes. This is not looking like some super spy shit. This is probably a war for dummies, and execution is pretty poor, so expect it not to be very serious. It's something that you can actually doze off of watching or probably drift off. Okay, so they get into that room with the gold bars. What's the significance of that room to the movie? In the trailer, it didn't look like it actually helped connect anything to anything. It was just like something that was just put there like an afterthought. You know, when you're looking at babies, you know parents didn't plan for the baby by the name that they actually give them. If any of your names means God has just done this for us, or now the kids or the family is now big and there are many, it will give you an idea of the fact that you're actually an afterthought. You probably were an accident, probably came from a broken condom. Analyze your name, find out its meaning. You might realize that you actually are an afterthought or an accident. And that scene basically looks something like that. I mean, is it the wealth that is used by the Kingsmen to fund their activities? What is it? Let me know in the comments below what you think it is. It looks like it's just placed there. I can't wait to watch the movie and to see what part that room full of gold actually plays in this whole plot. If any of you know, let me know, because I know a lot of you are bright out there, but it's looking pretty misplaced and like a time pusher. I hope this movie won't be filled with those types of scenes that actually don't make sense. It's something that is actually big in a big series like Game of Thrones, and somehow they got away with it. Do you think that this movie is also full of those empty scenes which don't contribute anything to the overall story and can actually just, make the movie long for no apparent reason? Okay, so looking at the cliche moments, we've got stuff like independent spy organizations where they got the money for the Rolls Royce. Probably those who watched the first two would know, but it's a bit questionable. Then you look at bookshelves opening doors into secret rooms where secret organizations work. That's some cliche stuff, nothing new. These guys got a bit lazy there. What I like those to some extent is the theme song. I'll give it an 8 out of 10 for applicability. The song is War Pigs by Black Sabbath. If you listen to the lyrics, they actually do sort of like go along with the song a bit, even though they don't really go along with the villain. Let me get to that and explain exactly why. Let me read the lyrics from War Pigs. Generals gathered in their masses, just like witches did black masses. That's like the bad guys, the history, the worst tyrants in history and the criminal masterminds coming together. That fits in. Evil minds that plot destruction, sorcerer of death construction. In the fields the bodies burning. If you go to the start of the trailer, you actually see probably something which resembles the scorched earth policy by Hitler. So that's a pretty nice touch which goes along with the song. Is the war machine keeps turning, death and hatred to mankind. On the war machine part, doesn't look like there's really something that actually aligns to that. We were probably expecting a bit more technology in this, but it looks like it's going to be swords, probably machetes. With the way things are going, you wouldn't be surprised to actually come across some Red Indians, because the weapons look like they're a bit more primitive, maybe to go with the era, but this was probably in the 1900s if you look at the scenario. So I'm expecting maybe the movie to give us a bit more, but it doesn't look like that's gonna happen. And in the end, death and hatred to mankind, poisoning the brainwashed minds. Oh Lord, yeah. I mean, I'm not a good singer. My sister's a singer though, but me, I don't even know how the melody goes. I'm just reading out the lyrics. Then politicians hide themselves away. The only side of the war. Why should I go out and fight? They leave that role for the poor. Yeah, doesn't look like that's really going to be happening in this movie. It looks like some high-class fight between the secret organization of the Kingsmen and actually, Rasputin and his crew. So at the end of the lyrics here, time will tell on their power minds, making war just for fun, treating people just like pawns in chess. Wait until the judgment day comes. Yeah, not really. These guys actually have a vendetta, Rasputin and his guys. Now, where the song doesn't really fit with the villain, it actually gives this sort of like sophisticated feel to the villain. Then out comes that gypsy looking Rasputin. I mean, the villain rating for me in this movie, I'll give it a 3 out of 10. Rasputin, even though he's like some sinister guy, is not really got the look. I mean, compare him to villains like Thanos and the likes who are really menacing. This guy actually looks like a clown trying to be serious, and it's actually laughable. Let me know what you think in the comments, but to me, he looks like a rag doll, looks like a clown, not really serious. Villain rating 3 out of 10, and this might impact the movie a lot because a villain is someone that actually keeps the movie going. This type of movie probably will play a main role, and then you're spending minutes upon minutes looking at somebody that you can't really take seriously. I mean, let me know what you think about that. Okay, so straight to why the villain rating is a 3 out of 10. I don't think it fits the context of the movie. Looks like they used Grigory Rasputin, one of those Russian weirdos from long ago. How he then fits into the whole group of tyrants and criminal masterminds who are looking to bring down the world is a bit of a stretch, because if you actually read about Grigory Rasputin, he was just some opportunist guy who actually rose to prominence when the king was away doing some work. He actually didn't take over anything and actually ended up getting popped sometime in 1916. So let me read something about Rasputin for you to see that he actually doesn't fit the context of the villain, and it's a really big blow to the movie because they're actually, piecing together a plot of things that actually don't make sense. This is actually another down for Michael Vaughan. That's why he probably hasn't been featured in really big movies. I mean, if you can conjure up stories like this, stories that kids can come up with, becomes a problem. So Grigory Yefimovich Rasputin, January 29, 1869 to 30 December 1916, was a Russian mystic and self-proclaimed holy man who befriended the family of Tsar Nicholas II, the last monarch of Russia, and gained considerable influence in late imperial Russia. Sounds like some opportunist cat, not actually some big ass, tyrant who actually just rose up and got things going, like Thanos or someone like that. Born to a peasant family in the Siberian village of Pokrovsky, Tobolsk Governorate, now Tyumen Oblast, Rasputin has the religious conversion experience after taking a pilgrimage to a monastery in 1897. He has been described as a monk or a stranic. Then blah 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 blah. In the winter of 1904 to 05, Rasputin captivated some church and social leaders. He became a society figure and met the Tsar in November 1905. This sounds more like Kanye West. Somebody who knows how to make noise, somebody who knows how to get people on his side. But to say that he's actually a villain, prime villain, big time guy who can come up with the guns and create war, it's not really coming out, And then he got close to the king by healing Alexei, who was the Tsar's son or something like that, right? Then he became a divisive figure in court and seen by some Russians as a mystique, visionary, and a prophet, and by others as a religious charlatan. I mean, you actually see the scene there in the trailer where he's got that cross and he wants to prick whoever that guy is in his hands, and it's not really making sense. It's not coming out. Maybe is that Alexei that he was with healing? I don't know. Did he convert Alexei into some sort of machine of his that he used to gain power in the movie? I don't know, but Michael Vaughan has got a lot of explaining to do, right? And then this guy was assassinated by a group of conservative noblemen who opposed his influence over Alexandra and the Tsar. That's how actually the real Rasputin died. So how Michael Vaughan is portraying him in the movie, according to the trailer, it's not really coming out. It'll be very interesting to see how this goes, but it seems like this story is a stretch, and beware, the critique told you that you might actually get bored. Let me know in the comments below, out of 10, what are the chances of you actually getting bored by this movie, by what I've said just now? Story looking like a stretch, looking like it's a bit shallow. I'd probably put it at 8 out of 10, 10 being very bored. There's a very big chance you're gonna get bored by this movie. I'm not saying that it's a bad movie, but a lot of it is not really making sense. Okay, so lastly, I'll come up with the theme rating. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. It's not an action spy comedy, and for probably good reasons. It looks like they executed the action very well, unlike in the trailer I was reviewing yesterday, which was Bad Boys for Life, which looked like it was all over the place. This one is actually a bit intense. I felt myself getting captivated as I actually watched the action. I think in terms of action, you have Shola with the brute force, with his knife and all that. Then you'll have Fiennes with the finesse, probably fighting like James Bond, the James Bond of that day. So the action is probably gonna get us going, and the more action in this movie the better, because in terms of the plot and the storyline, everything is shallow and lame. So like I said, it'll probably get a little bit over 7.0 because of how the movie has been executed. It's looking like it's been executed well, but underneath the covers, things are not really going well. So let me know in the comments below what you think this movie will come in rated at. According to IMDb ratings, I've put it slightly over 7. Some of you might go up, some of you might go down, and let me know if you're if you're looking forward to watching this. It's something that I'll probably watch later on, but I will not dream of. Also watch my preview for Gemini Man. Gemini Man is being premiered October the 2nd, if I'm not mistaken. I actually did that as my first trailer reaction on the movie. I think I'll put the link somewhere in the end card on this video, so you can also check that out. That movie is most likely not gonna be a flop, but it's gonna be a 50-50 type of thing. Just listen to what I have to say about that. So thank you for watching the video and getting this far. It's really important to get your support. If you have not subscribed to the channel, like the video, and click on that notification bell so that the critique can keep those videos coming. Cheers.